All right, YouTube family. I just pulled up here. This is my favorite spot in the world. Shawnee Mac Lakes outside of Salem, Missouri. And we're going to go for a hike. And I'm going to talk to you about whatever pops in my mind. So, I thought it'd be most fun from the moment I get out of my car here. Show you exactly what I do. I wasn't going to wear sunglasses, but it is bright out here today. I'm anal retentive, so I always check every single door. And we're safe. Let's make sure this thing's recording. This is the lake. I'm gonna swap back and forth. I chose to, I spent the last dollar I have to buy this iPhone 13 Pro. I think I still owe AT&T last month's payment, but don't tell them. They gotta come to my house and take it away. So I left the camera on the bottom, and I'm gonna try, I think I can hold it like that, because the button on the top, I'm less likely to hit it that way. My God, I love it out here. This is my favorite place in the world. I've walked this trail, oh man, 1,000 times. I love it out here. So, this was inspired by Alex Christoforou. I can't say your name, Alex. I know you're Greek. I'm a hillbilly from rural Missouri. But man, I love what you do. I love your walk and talks. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll do that. Here, you guys can get a view of the lake this way. That's a lot prettier than me. So I need, if I'm gonna do this, I need to invest in a selfie stick for sure. You know, my biggest hang up with this is looking like an idiot when people cross me on the trail. But Alex never cares. He walks through downtown Greece, and you know, that kind of courage inspired me. If I hadn't seen Alex do that, because it's really cool. I think it's cool to see the sights of Greece as you hear somebody that's interesting talk. And I went back and forth. I don't have my AirPods in today. Maybe the next video we do like that. I'll show you the AirPods. It's a cool little bridge. And we'll see if the sound quality is better. But I thought today, we'll just try it like this. So, I've wanted to do this a long time, a really long time, and I've just been too scared. I was scared what people would say. I was scared what people would think. I'm a school teacher. I was scared I'd lose my job. I teach school in a very, very conservative area, and I have 1 year left until I have tenure. And the past 4 years, I've just really kind of hid, you know, trying to get to that legal requirement where I don't have to worry about it anymore. And I don't know. I only say this for the benefit of the story and to tell you where my mind's at. But last year, I won Teacher of the Year, which was, I mean, really touched me. It was voted on by the students, and it kind of like cemented in my head, like, I am damn good at what I do. And I can kind of see, I mean, this is more or less like a political channel, you guys know. So I have a gift, a God-given gift, to see the political strings behind situations. As a school teacher, that's helpful. But it's also easy to see that if they want to get rid of you as a school teacher, they're going to make up a reason. It's like any job, right? Like you have these like laws that protect your job. And in modern America, I mean, any kind of legal case to protect your job. My friend in Vermont, Chris Halali, he was just talking about he had to file a defamation suit against his wife. It cost him 60 grand. I don't have 60 grand. So like, legally, you can do this or that, but unless a lawyer takes you on pro bono, you know, what are you gonna do? You can make a big stink about it. But honestly, in Missouri, I'm an at-will employee. I don't get tenure for another year, and so making this video and putting it on the internet, if I want to keep my job, is really stupid, probably. We'll see. You know, it comes down to how much of a headache my administration wants to take on, and I wouldn't blame them if they didn't want to. I also find it interesting. I pay, like, for years now, I've paid $30 a month to the MSTA, Missouri State Teachers Association. Now I'm paying $50 to the Missouri National Educators Association. And she came to our school to kind of talk about, like, what she could do for us. And I asked, like, well, if I don't have tenure, like, what can you do for me? And she said nothing. And yet, like a dummy, I keep giving them $50 a month or whatever it is. But it kind of clicked with me. Like when I went to the CPI training conference in Kansas, props to Caleb Maupin. I wouldn't be making this video if it weren't for him. I was there and I was on the deck late at night, and my family came with me. They stayed in a tent because we couldn't afford a hotel room. So we stayed in a tent in the backyard, and one night I went out and just kind of chatted with some comrades after a day of awesome classes, William Z. Foster and history of the Communist Party USA, and how the only reason FDR did what he did was because the CPUSA was pointing at Soviet Russia and said, well, they just had a revolution. You want to have a Great Depression here? Oh man, I love this bridge. Look at this. If you don't help the working class people, then it's going to happen here too, buddy. And that's the only reason the Democrats gave us Social Security, unemployment, disability. You know, Foster was pushing the union movement. A Democrat put Eugene Debs in jail for freedom of speech for preaching against World War I, said no poor boy should fight in a rich man's war. So when that clicked for me, Richard Wolff, thank you for teaching me that. When that clicked for me, it was obvious what I had to do. Caleb Maupin said at the Kansas conference, he said, I think he quoted Sherwood Anderson, who props to Dr. Tyler Blake for having me read Winesburg, Ohio at College of the Ozarks. Sherwood Anderson, I won't get the quote exactly right, but he said something like, what's the difference between a socialist and a communist? And Sherwood Anderson says, the communists mean it. So, anyway, I'm telling you that now, but my friend Ryan, who's high up in the CPI, he manages the Twitter account. I don't think he'd mind me saying that. He's a pharmacist in Oakland. My favorite communist pharmacist, Ryan. We were out having a chat one night, and I was telling him how, because of my job, I'm always real careful to say, like, well, people would be like, where are you going in Kansas? Why are you going there for a week? And I'd say, oh, you know, it's a political thing. And people wouldn't ask any more questions because we live in liberal America, and I've realized when people say things like, that's the two things we don't talk about in this country. We don't talk about politics and we don't talk about religion. Well, it occurred to me before I really understood what liberalism was, that the reason you don't talk about those two things, well, I mean, those are the two important things you can talk about. The growth of your internal soul and the structure of your society in which your children are raised. And yet in liberal America, because once you understand, Mearsheimer has a great lecture on this, once you understand that the basis of liberalism is that people can never get along, ever. This is the philosophical basis of liberalism. If you go back to John Locke and people like that, the idea is people never get along. So we're just going to shut up about what we believe. And we are going to allow everybody to do whatever they want. Liberalism. I'm exercising Amendment 1 of the liberal American Constitution, freedom of speech. But as a Marxist, you kind of know that as soon as you threaten the state, or you threaten the powerful, or you make a headache for your boss, the First Amendment goes out the window. You were 2 minutes late for work, you know, you're not assigning enough papers. I mean, they're going to make up a reason. And so, it doesn't matter. But anyway, on that back deck, I'm jumping around in the story. I told him how my wife, I was trying to play it real careful and be like, oh, it's a political meeting. And my wife would just tell people, she told her parents, no, we're going to a communist training school. And I love and respect my wife for that. She does not pussyfoot around the truth. And if you don't like her because of it, good. That's one less fake person she has to deal with. I love that about my wife. And so I told that story, and Ryan on the back deck said, well, you know, at the end of the Communist Manifesto, it says a communist disdains to hide their views. And that clicked with me. And I knew that was true. I knew that was true. So this is me disdaining to hide my views. And if I get fired because of it, that's fine. I'll work at Walmart. If I get fired from Walmart because of it, that's fine. I'll be the only sober guy at the liquor store. If I get fired from the liquor store, that's fine. I'll push my buymeacoffee.com and I'll tell you about what happened to me, how I got fired as a school teacher for telling the truth on camera. And I don't think this will happen. I mean, I love the people I work for. They love me. I teach in the small community I was raised in. So, you know, I have a lot of hope and faith and trust in them. But to be courageous, you got to make peace with what could happen to you. And I'm making peace with that right now. Let's say I get fired at the liquor store. Well, I told you. Maybe I'll ask you for some donations or whatever. Let's say they arrest me like Julian Assange and put me in a glass box. That's fine. Make a video about me. Or maybe they'll give me a pencil and paper and I can catch up on all that reading. You know, being in prison for a philosopher, or an aspiring philosopher at least, that's kind of heaven. It's all in how you see it. Let's say they put a bullet in my head like they did Martin Luther King's, JFK's, Malcolm X. That's fine too. I don't believe that my spirit is finite. I think, and this might go against the materialism of Marxism, but just call me heterodox, I don't care. I think our spirits are eternal, and I think we choose our physical embodiment because it houses a certain way that our soul needs to grow, wants to grow. It's an experience we want to have. Louise Hay talks about this, how we choose our own parents in the spirit realm. There's no way to prove that. And I know a lot of Marxists will completely, you know, what's the word? disregard anything I say from this, but that's fine. I don't care. You know, I think it's really important that there be a spiritual basis for your political activism. If there's not, then I don't know how you avoid nihilism. I mean, at a certain point, let's say we do make communism possible on Earth. Everyone can have a Tesla for the cost of a penny. Okay, now you're in a world of total material abundance. Everyone's fed, clothed, housed. Everyone's traveling the stars. But why? Why are we doing it? And to me, the real spiritual basis of what we're doing here is we're expressing ourselves. Like what I'm doing right now is God talking through me to you. In a way, maybe you need to hear it. Maybe you want to share yourself and you're afraid you'll lose your job. Maybe you need to do it. Maybe seeing me do it, say screw it, put it all on the line. Maybe that's something you need to do. And that was the topic I thought about. Anyway, to finish up that thought, I was just going to say, I'll wait in the spirit realm and I'll reincarnate again, and you can kill me again, and me and the deep state will just be locked in eternal war that way. That's fine. Until one of us wins, or they come to God as well. And I don't think everybody in the deep state is evil. I think it's probably like any organization. Like I work at Walmart. I'm working like 80 hours a week now. I teach school and I'm working as a pharmacy tech at night. And with inflation, I'm still barely able to save, you know, maybe $1,000 a month. I try to put it all into my crypto account and long and short the market, because since I went to journalism school and I'm $60,000 in debt, hitting the jackpot on Wall Street speculation is the only real freedom in capitalism. You have to have capital to be free. And that's another fear I have, like, oh, well, you're doing that. Now the IRS is going to come for you. Well, you know, if they're not coming for Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, and you're going to come for a poor school teacher in rural Missouri, that's obvious what's going on, isn't it? It's pretty obvious. It'd ironically be safer for me to tell you out loud on camera. So if it ever does happen, you'll be like, he knew what he's doing. But that's a whole nother topic. What do you do with money you make? What do you do with fictitious capital that you make by longing and shorting the market, trading the Ichimoku, realizing the Dow also exists in financial markets? I've decided any money I make from that and the feds let me keep, I'll give 10% of it in a tithe to the CPI, the Center for Political Innovation, who I think is the vanguard party in America, and they're doing more to build a government of action for working people than anybody else. This is one of my favorite spots. You can watch like this for a minute. This walk takes about an hour and a half. There's another trail I really like called the Devil's Well Trail. It takes about 4 hours. And I'm not going to try that without a selfie stick. So, I can't decide what to call this. I think I might call it Walk in the Woods. Thought about calling it Walk with the Communists in the Woods. That just seems, I don't know. It's like at a certain point you get it. That's how I was with Jackson Hinkle. I heard Jackson Hinkle say once, he's like, yeah, I'm a Marxist-Leninist. After they screwed Bernie twice, and they would have probably killed him if he had won, I decided, look around the world, what's the only thing that's ever stood up to these people? It's Marxism-Leninism. It's the only thing that works. And if you fuse it with Christian beliefs, you know, I'm not into adventurism, leftist adventurism. I don't want to hurt anyone. But I'm not naive. I mean, if their money and power is threatened, they will hurt me. They'll hurt you. They'll hurt Bernie Sanders. Let's not kid ourselves, you know. But we can't live in fear of them, because then they just get to do whatever they want. And that's the problem in America. It's not like we don't have smart people in America. We have brilliant people in America. In fact, we buy most of them off brain drain from other countries. Hey, come here, have a little bit, suck on the teeth of imperialism. Enjoy some money. Welcome to America, land of the free, home of the brave. Unless you piss off the government. So, yeah, we got tons of smart people. It's finally starting to hit just a tiny bit. Like, gas is the highest it's ever been. It's flirting with $5 a gallon. And Americans are finally kind of realizing, like, oh, this hurts, you know? We need to do something about this. And the powers that be know. Watch The Grapes of Wrath. Watch the movie. That's what happens when it gets so bad. When mothers can't feed their kids. Like in the French Revolution. When mothers can't feed their kids, revolutions happen. Bastilles get stormed. It's usually the women. Because at a certain point, if you watch your baby starve to death in your own arms, and then you watch Nancy Pelosi on TV eating $15 a pint ice cream, you kind of got to look into your soul and ask yourself, is this the way God wants me to live? Now, I don't want to hurt anybody, ever. But at a certain point, isn't that kind of self-defense of your child? You know? I don't know. Gated communities are nice, but they're usually in a valley. I would never do anything like that. I would never encourage anyone to do anything like that. But, you got to provide for the people. That's why we have food stamps. It's not to keep people lazy. It's to keep people's heads attached to their bodies. That's why. They know. If you don't know this history, then you got to read more. Read up on some revolutions. As far as the taxes and the crypto, read up on the American Revolution. No taxation without representation. I saw a Beau of the Fifth Column or whatever, and he did some video on how the IRS was hiring 87,000 more agents and how it's not to go after the little guy. Beau, I don't know what you're doing, man. Come on, man. Really? Who you think they're going to go after? Warren Buffett? Bill Gates? Jeff Bezos? Okay. Yeah, they're understaffed, but I don't know. I hear about other countries. Richard Wolff's told me about this, like other countries where people love tax day. He says this in France, like on tax day, people celebrate tax day because you can take your child to daycare for $1 a day. Every worker in France gets 5 weeks paid vacation federally. And if you tried to take it away from the French would burn the country down. But Americans, they keep us ignorant of that labor history. We're in a weird time where, like, you can watch me walk in the woods and talk to my cell phone and try to educate you a little bit. But like most people over 40, I go over to my parents' house and they have on CNN. They both voted for Trump. I don't think they would mind that. Put my mother out there. My mother voted for Bernie, and then she voted for Trump. I think she voted for Obama, maybe, back in the day. So I guess she's an irredeemable racist, right? CNN, right? MSNBC. They're not even trying to understand what's going on. This is why trust in the mainstream media is like at, 11% or so. They're not even trying. If they were honest, they'd go interview people like my mom and be like, why'd you do that? And you would see that every night on the news. Why I voted for Obama and then why I voted for Trump. You don't see that. Because they don't want you to see that. They've got a little game going on. And they'll pay off those anchors. What's Rachel Maddow make a year? You think she's going to tell you the truth about a broke-ass school teacher? Come on, man. Come on. So, what's some other topics we can talk about? I want this as this kind of be a walk and chill, and at this point it's kind of a game to see if I can hold my hand up for an hour and a half without turning off the screen. You know what Apple really needs on their camera is a button to like lock the camera, because so often I will accidentally hit the record button and then I lose everything I recorded. If that happens, I'll just pick it up. I kind of marginally know how to use a video editor now since I made that audiobook. That's something I can talk about, that audiobook. I have a problem in my life between choosing to be so humble that you never hear me say anything. Is that being humble? To hide your gifts? To hide what you have to say? And feeling like I'm a narcissist that is full of myself, and who am I to think you would want to watch me on your TV or on your cell phone or listen to me while, you're taking a shower or whatever, driving to visit your folks. Who am I? And I feel there's a dialectic there between being insufferably full of yourself and being too much of a coward to share your gifts with the world. I think God will provide for you, but not if you don't sing. He provides for the birds of the field, but I don't think he would if they didn't sing. They have to sing. That's a good metaphor. I like that. No wonder I'm a high school English teacher. Whew. But, so yeah, I started making these videos, and I made the audiobook about Jesus by Wallace Wattles. And I've never edited video before, so I didn't understand, like, when you hit output in OpenShot, it has like a billion options. And so I went to the Master Key audiobook videos, which inspired me to make that audiobook, and I turned on stats for nerds because I'm a nerd. I'm recording in the woods with an iPhone. It's nerdy behavior. But yeah, I turned on stats for nerds, and I noticed that all their videos were uploaded in 1080p, and they were at 24 frames a second. So I started seeing what's 24 frames, what's 30 frames, what's 60 frames. When I recorded some of those videos for the CPI conference, I turned on 60 frames to record them in 4K. I probably should have recorded them in 4K, but whatever, it's over now. So I talked to Ryan, he said just do it the standard way. So we did HD, 30 frames a second. When I turned on 60 frames, it's very foreign to my eyes. It looks like I'm Speedy Gonzales or something. I think probably because I'm used to watching TV, and 24 frames looks really choppy to me. Like, it's probably because I'm watching it on like a 60 hertz screen. I learned that, so you want to, like, your frame rate wants to be divisible by your hertz, I guess. So like 30 looks clear on a 60 hertz display, 60 looks clear, but it's like faster than the 30 you're used to, and 24 looks choppy. But in a film projector, it looks really cool because it gives this really kind of cool motion blur, and that's what makes things cinematic. I don't know how they emulate it on the TV. Okay, here you go. You got to see this part, and then I'll come back and tell you more about that. This is my favorite part in the whole lake. I hope this wide angle lens does good. I'm big here on this learning by doing. I've thought this out in my head forever, and now we're gonna try doing it instead of just talking about it. This is my favorite spot. I'm usually almost always listening to an audiobook, and so right here I'll stop. Sometimes I'd meditate for 15 minutes. I'd sit on that rock and listen to the Calm app, or there's a meditation by Kelly McGonigal I really liked from the Willpower book. I'm usually almost always listening to an audiobook, and I count my out breaths here till 11. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11. Forgot how many I was on. Let's go back to a widescreen. That's 1. Maybe 1 looks more normal. I don't know. Maybe I'll do 1 for a little bit, and then I can compare when I watch this back. So yeah, I realized when I was trying to watch back my audiobook, I'd uploaded it in 4K, and it might just be in my head, but I tried to copy the Master Key Society one and do 24 frames a second, and I realized I love the Master Key Society. I love what you guys are doing. You are doing God's work. But I noticed when I was watching the video, it was hard to keep looking at the book. I felt like the refresh rate was weird. And so then I re-uploaded the Master Key book at 60 frames, and it was much easier for me to look at. I think because it matches the monitor rate. I'm gonna do one more on 30 frames and just see, because I heard 30 is just as good. It just takes up less time to render the video because it's half the frames, but it also works great on a 60 hertz display because it's every other one. I don't know. I say an affirmation every day about from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I say my definite chief aim is to provide political and educational commentary at the highest quality I can. Also put an amount of money in there. I won't tell you about that because I'm still on that humble. I think there's some magic in not telling people all the details of your goals. You want to leave a little bit of mystery, because when people hear it all, they'll make fun of it all. And despite your best efforts, I think unconsciously that can affect you. Oh, I should have done this wide angle. This is beautiful here. It's one of my favorite parts on the walk too. Let's go back to wide angle here. Yeah. Oh man, it's so pretty. I usually take a picture here, especially when the sun's setting. Right now it's the middle of the day and it's really hot and bright, but it'll probably make for decent video. I hope if I can get a selfie stick, it doesn't hurt my arm so much to hold this whole time. I'm sure it'll hurt a little bit, but proof I need to get back in that gym, Haz, right? So let's talk about some of my influences that made me make this video. I always list them in the audiobook details, but Caleb Maupin and the CPI. I saw a bunch of people dogpiling Caleb Maupin, and it made me realize, who cares, Like, if you're gonna do any political work, which, I mean, if you're gonna do legit spiritual work, I think you have to do political work too. I mean, that goes back to Plato. And that's a whole nother topic maybe I'll get into. If I don't get into it today, I'll put a pin in it and save it for later. But, if you don't understand the wide breadth of Western and Eastern philosophy, I don't know why you're running the country. I mean, granted, you can look anything up. That's absolutely true. Like, if it's like a random fact, like how many miles is the Earth from the sun? I mean, in today's age, you can look that up. But there's a bit of a difference between looking that up and like reading all of Shakespeare and having that permeate and color your subconscious mind. Reading all of Plato, reading all of the Bible, reading all of the Upanishads or the Quran or, the Vedas. Reading all of Hegel, Marx, Lenin. I mean, There's no substitute for that. I would just like to take like Biden aside and be like, can you explain the Hermetic tradition? Just to see what he would say. It would be, having him say anything is pretty awesome. That'd be fun for Trump too. There's a great Bertrand Russell quote. I used to really like Bertrand Russell when I was a liberal. And then I kind of realized he was like this ultimate godless, hopeless, science has replaced philosophy, British, Anglo, not good. I think everyone has God in them, but some people really push it down, and I don't think those are the people we should elevate. But even Bertrand would probably be better than Biden or Trump. Certainly. Hillary. What's her name? Kamala. But yeah, if you don't, the reason Americans are the way they are is we have no classical education. We have none. Chris Hedges talks about that, and, I don't always agree with Chris Hedges' Calvinistic doomerism, but he's right. You need a classical education. They're classics for a reason. You need a classical education to understand the world in its totality. Lyndon LaRouche said, I'm 2,500 years old. If you've never read that, then you don't know what's going on. You can't see the arc of human history that bends towards justice, as Martin Luther King said. You can't see it. So what are you doing? But that's that Bertrand Russell quote. We're led by the least amongst us. We're led by the least amongst us. And that's the problem in America. It's not a lack of intelligence. We have brilliant people. It's a lack of courage. And granted, the system is set up that way. You're not gonna get on the debate stage as a third-party candidate after Ross Perot. But that's another reason you should run for office, Jimmy Dore. If you don't run for office on the People's Party, I love you to death. When I saw you perform in St. Louis a couple years ago, you took a picture with me and my wife. You and Steph were so kind. I tried to be a great audience member, do a lot of, yeah, Jimmy, tell him! I think you enjoyed that. But man, if you don't run for office on the People's Party, Jimmy, you are no better than Bernie Sanders. This is your moment, Jimmy Dore. This is more important than your life. This is more important than your money. This is more important than your security. This is more important than, counting your paper in old age. What would Bill Hicks do? Bill Hicks would die at 34, but he'd tell the truth on the way out. You believe that? George Carlin died pretty early too, early 60s, but he told the truth on the way out, didn't he? And if either one of those guys had the political opportunity you have right now to run for office and change the country, you're not going to win, you know that. But damn if you won't make a stink, baby. Just in the way we need. We need you. My Trump uncle, I told him you might win. I think his profile picture is literally him on a boat, which I love. He said if Jimmy runs, he's got my vote. And all the post-Bernie people that really matter, you'll have our vote. I called over 1,000 people for Bernie Sanders. I gave him over $5,000. I actually went to knock on doors in Houston, Missouri using his little app, which was insane. I thought for sure I'd get blown apart by a shotgun, but I did it. And then what did Bernie do? He sold me out and told me to vote for Joe Biden. Just like before, he sold me out and told me to vote for Hillary Clinton. And all the liberals are like, well, what? You want to support fascism? No. I want someone to be honest, and if I'm going to give them my hard-earned money and time and spiritual energy to go down fighting, it's not like Jesus is on the cross and he's like, God's like, hey, Jesus, do you want to come down from the cross? And he's like, well, it's Satan's world. Satan's going to win anyway. I might as well just come down off the cross and tell people to vote for Beelzebub instead of Lucifer, the lesser of two evils. What good can I do? They're just going to kill me. What good can I do? Well, give it 400 years, Jesus. And the empire might adopt your ideas in their own flawed way to keep from being overtaken by the Roman proletariat that is willing to die themselves for your ideas. That might happen. Here's another beautiful place, isn't it? I usually sit on this bench here. This is my other setting spot. I sit here. Whew. Sit here. I usually count to 11 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, here we go. I guess I'm the only person crazy enough to walk out here today in the heat. I think it's like 85 degrees. It's not bad. It's not 100, not 105 like it was about a month ago. But yeah, you know what I got to get better at is self-promotion. Every time I watch a video, I always tell myself I will never, if I ever make videos, I'm never going to say, be sure to like, subscribe, ring that bell. I get why people do it. If you do it, I love you. I'm not talking, no judgment. It's just hard for me to say it because, I mean, maybe the first person I ever heard say it, I was like, oh, okay. But like the 10,000th person, I mean, like we all know this. I know how YouTube works at this point. I've watched thousands of hours of it. I get it. And the people I really like, I dig to find out how to support them. Like Patrick Lancaster, you know, reporting the truth in Eastern Ukraine. I'm like, how are they supporting this guy? I mean, how is he getting money? Like, this is the Empire, the Death Star cannot like this. It's like some renegade stormtrooper. I think he is a vet, going into the Death Star and being like, here's what's really going on in the Death Star. Here's Emperor Palpatine's this nightly satanic ritual. I don't think they'd smile. He's still getting money. And I noticed the way he was getting money, they're letting his Patreon stay up, which I kind of like turned my back on Patreon when I learned. I think they shut down the All American Vagabonds Patreon. I think they also went after Whitney Webb's. It was in the COVID fascism period. But I just kind of like lost faith in them. And I was a big Chapo fan back in the day, back in my liberal progressive days. Now I kind of think why aren't you forming the CPI, Chapo? Why are you supporting the CIA funded Democratic Socialists of America? It was just kind of like, I don't know, it weirded me out. Maybe their money's real, I don't know, but kind of seems astroturfed. Nothing. Out of everybody, I think, let me rate Chapo in my favorite. I've listened to thousands of hours of Chapo. Forgive me, Haz. Forgive me, Infrared. Forgive me. Force the Vote turned me off. When they made fun of Jimmy Dore during Force the Vote, and Jimmy on his channel heard they made fun of him, and he was like, man, it's really disappointing. Why would they? I like those guys. I thought they were funny. And they threw him under the bus. The sneering Brooklyn hipster. What do you think that's gonna do? What do you think voting Nancy Pelosi out's gonna do? What do you think keeping her in's gonna do? Good things? So that's when I got off board. I tweeted some stuff at Matt Chrisman, and he never responded to it. I wouldn't either, but it just clicked with me. Like, you guys aren't doing anything, you know? People made fun of Caleb and the CPI. You know, I made the video. State Department bumped me up in the file. But I think it got 1.4 million views. I gave it to Ryan. I let Ryan put it on the Twitter. I don't need credit for it. I'm just kind of telling you for fullness of the story, but we got 1.4 million views, and Newsweek put it up like just to make fun of us. And it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like, make fun of me. I hope Vosh takes this video and makes fun of me. Look at this hillbilly out in the middle of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. Oh, good luck with your revolution, hillbilly, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. I'm surrounded by people that voted for Donald Trump. The more you do that, the more some like film studio kid does that in like LA, the better it is for me and my politics, because they see that you hate me. That's great. And that's great. I think one of the main things that needs to be done in this country is cleave the Democratic Party and leftism from communism. Like, even Marxism is kind of a morass, or what did Lenin call it? Where the anarchists and the Paris Commune went to swamp. The state will surround you if you don't seize power and protect yourself, you know. I kind of think of the state as like a father. And it's like if someone broke in my house and started shooting my children, you know, at that point, you might want to defend your family. And that's kind of how I see a state. The state defends one class or the other. And ask yourself in America, who is the Democrats and Republicans more on the side of? Microsoft, Amazon, the oil companies, or the school teachers in the rural Midwest, or the kid working at McDonald's, or let's not always say the kid working at McDonald's, the mom working at McDonald's, okay? Or the mom working at the bank, or the dad working in the lead mine, or whatever, driving a truck. Are they on your side? Come on, dude. That's in America. They make you think. The liberalism makes you think that you can never have a government on your side. That is a lie. Almost everything you hear in this country about China is a lie. Almost everything you heard about the Soviet Union or present-day Russia is an absolute lie. I would encourage anyone to look at what happened when the Soviet Union fell in Russia. Look what happened in the 90s in Russia. Thank you, Caleb, for educating me in this way, giving me the courage to make this video. And thank you, Richard Wolff, for helping me see the truth. But yeah, in the 90s in Russia, they had shock therapy capitalism. Bill Clinton was rigging elections for Boris Yeltsin. What would you call it? The bill of goods that were sold to the Russian people were that, you know, you'll get to keep all your awesome state programs, like a guaranteed job if you want one, you know, guaranteed health care, guaranteed housing. You get to keep all that. I mean, you've had that for what? 7 decades? That's boring now. Here's what you want. Don't you want a Nintendo Entertainment System? Don't you want some fly Nikes? Yeah, some fly Nikes. These aren't fly Nikes, but don't you want some? Don't you want a Walkman? Come on, Russia. Choose capitalism, baby. Choose it. Oh, it'll be beautiful. You'll get to keep all your security, but you'll get all the fancy stuff too. It'll be so cool. And the liberal class in Russia, there was a liberal class, I believe. Dugin fought against this, and I can't remember the other guy's name. He used to hang out with Matt Taibbi and Mark Ames. They were there in the 90s. Saw what happened. But when the Soviet Union fell, all their social programs went away. Alcoholism exploded. American, you know, economists, professor, liberal types, you know who they are, went over there and helped them sell off all of the nationalized industry, like the oil supply, to the person closest to it. That's where the Russian oligarchs came from. And all that social safety net for the vast majority of the population disappeared, and life expectancy fell by like 10 or 15 years in the 90s. And I always think it's funny when people are like, we'll never accept communism here. Well, what if, and this is point 2 in the CPI's plan, what if you had a government of action to fight for working families that said, hey, ExxonMobil, hey, Shell, hey, Chevron, your oil now belongs to the American people. And American people, because we're nationalizing the oil industry, your gas is now $1.50 a gallon for as long as we can do it. If I remember correctly, this is how gas is in Venezuela or like, Saudi Arabia or any place like that inside the country. If you want to sell it for a profit to other countries, it's still capitalist, but if it's a fair deal, I think they'd understand. If you got the oil, that's kind of how it works. It's not the end stage, but socialism progresses in stages. It's not all overnight. It's not a utopia overnight. You rest by degrees. Control from the bourgeoisie. That's what Marx said. Thank you, Haz. I think you reminded me of that the other day. But yeah, I think most Americans would support that, as long as you don't call it communism. But that's the thing that, like, Caleb gets. Like, a lot of people, when you're first getting into this stuff, you'll be like, well, why do you gotta call it communism? Like, because of 75 years of McCarthy, you can't call things communism in America. You can't call things... And props to Bernie Sanders. You sold us out in a lot of ways, Bernie, but you made it okay to call yourself a socialist, which opened the door to everyone that was serious about what you wanted to do. The only way it's ever going to be done in America is through marxist-leninism. Everything else is a joke, a woke joke. I think most Americans will support that. They'd support $1.50 gasoline. Most Americans don't own any oil stock, maybe in a fraction of their 401k. But they'd gladly give up that fraction to pay $1 a gallon for gasoline under a nationalized oil supply. But that's not how the oil industry works in America. It's ran for profit. That's why it costs so much. They'll charge as much as they can get away with. And that was a big, I think Maupin taught me this. Like, that was a big realization that socialism, communism isn't about, like, the government just controls everything. They tell you where you gotta work, tell you where you gotta live. It's none of that. It's about who controls political power, like who's in charge. In capitalism, profits are in command. Why do we have a bloated insurance industry that everyone hates? Because the insurance companies are controlling the government. Why is gas $4 or $5 a gallon? Because the oil companies control the government. Why are they on their 6th, 7th, 8th booster shot? Because the pharmaceutical companies control the government. Socialism is the people control the government. So like in China. In China, there's a lot of private business. A lot of capitalists will say the reason China's so rich is because they let capitalism come in their country. Well, capitalism doesn't make up more than something like 40% of the country. The Communist Party controls 60% of industry. They control, as Lenin called it, the heights of industry. I mean, Google high-speed rail China. 16 high-speed rail lines crisscrossing the country. And every single one of those rail lines is an economic corridor of 50 miles on each side to do nothing but build up the economy. Why doesn't that happen in America? Well, and this would be a whole nother, walk around the lake stream. Private property rights. How are you going to build a high-speed rail when Bill Gates is buying up 500,000 acres and just setting on it for farmland? You think he's going to let you run high-speed rail through there? You could do eminent domain, I guess, in America. You could, just like we could break up the trusts, but we don't, because who controls the government? The same companies making those trusts, Teddy Roosevelt broke them up, but I think that probably has to do with there was a far bigger progressive communist socialist union movement at that time that threatened him. I don't think it was just out of the goodness of his heart. Mark Twain said, I love that Mark Twain and Theodore Roosevelt hated each other. I love this. Mark Twain, Missouri boy, my own heart. The forest named after him is close by, which I think is ironic because I think Theodore Roosevelt helped build the forest and then they named it after his enemy, Mark Twain. Roosevelt wouldn't accept, I think it was at Oxford, they both got an honorary degree, and Roosevelt wouldn't accept it if Twain was there. But Twain said it was amazing that someone so stupid could become president. That's what he said about Theodore Roosevelt. Which is funny to me because Theodore Roosevelt wrote like one of the classics of naval military strategy in his 20s. I mean, he wasn't stupid, but I think just morally, Twain hated him because he glorified war, you know. I think he did the imperialism, kind of made America an imperial power through the Navy, the Atlanticism build-up that Russia and China are now challenging through Eurasianism. Twain said under Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, the stars on the American flag should be replaced with the skull and crossbones because of what we were doing in the Philippines. And Roosevelt, if I remember correctly, said in a letter to Mark Twain, or about Mark Twain to a friend, he said, I would like to skin Mark Twain alive. So, if you're a good writer in America, and you're telling the truth with a humorous bent in the vein of Mark Twain, thank you, Jimmy Dore, thank you, Russell Brand, the president's gonna want to skin you alive. Nothing's changed there. If he's inviting you to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, you are not doing your job. You are a sellout. There's nothing wrong with selling out as long as it's for a good cause. I hope you guys get on my buymeacoffee.com/Tyler McConnell and give me my first ever donation that I've received for being courageous and putting myself out there. If I get enough donations, I'll quit my job at Walmart. Sorry, Kirsten. And I'll spend 4 hours making content for you. Mainly audiobooks, visual audiobooks. I think those are the actual, you know, what's it called? Beneficial thing to make. Maybe I'll start making my walks in the woods. Could be for members or something like that. That's an idea. I don't know, something cool. But just an idea, you know. But yeah, I always hope the president wants to skin me alive. If you want to encourage me to say more, to piss off the president even more, whether it's Democrat or Republican, it won't make any difference. I'd appreciate it. This is kind of the last part of this trail they built. It is a quiet, kind of wooded place. A little shady. Whew. I may just hold it this way for a while and kind of catch my arm breath, if you will. I gotta get a GoPro, I think. I don't really think it looks cool to wear it on your head. But maybe I could kind of like strap it to my chest or something. Although, when I watch these videos, like Alex's videos, I like to see him in the frame. You know. See him in the frame. Whew. You don't want dead air in your video, but I also kind of think it doesn't really matter. If you got a fan, they can go back in time, stamp what you did, and you can jump around. Or I could do it myself. I think Haz is so interesting. I love that guy. I'm 35. Haz is 26. And there's so much of what he's doing, like his philosophical knowledge of Marxism is absolutely incredible. And I love that he's being based. He's being himself as a 26-year-old single man. He's not apologizing for chasing the ladies or things like that. for me as a 35-year-old man that sees my 26-year-old self in Haz, I'm married and have 2 kids. Like, that period of my life is behind me. Which Haz might think I'm a loser. I don't know. I love you, Haz. I hope you don't. But you did say in your stream once, if by 30 I haven't made something out of myself. Well, as someone past 30, let me quote Charles Bukowski to you. It's one of my favorite poems by Charles Bukowski. He said, 68 is so much easier than 30. At 30, I thought for sure that the gamble had been lost. I love that. I know I'll make a much better old man than I will a young man. And I really think Carl Jung was true in that quote that life begins at 40. Before then, you're just doing research. I know Haz doesn't like Jung. He's a Lacanian, Freudian. I get it. I think if you learn all 3 of them and synthesize them, that could be really powerful. I thought of what America needs to really... It needs a fusion philosophy. There's a great essay on Jungian Marxism online. It's the one from the 70s, not the woke new one. But I think I'm going to turn that into audiobooks. It's wonderful. Talks about the German god Wotan and how Jung thought that he had been awoken. The archetype of Wotan had been awoken by the Nazi party. That's probably the part I remember the most. But it's also just about how in like primitive communism, it was much easier for the soul to individuate, to reach self-actualization, because the means of production weren't alienated from the population. Like, if you farmed and ate and provided directly with your community. You didn't farm and then put it on trial. I think with beef cattle, I wrote an article for the Salem News when I used to write for the Salem News. It was my very first article, and it was about beef prices going way up. And I went to a Main Street cafe and sat down with an old farmer, and he explained to me. I didn't know anything, you know. I was raised here in Salem, but I always fancied myself a hipster when I was younger. I thought I was cooler than everybody. And now I've came full circle and realized these are my people and I love them. I'm not cooler than them. You're never going to build any real socialist movement in the country if you call half the country deplorables. These are my people. I love them. They raised me. I will die for them. But anyway, he explained to me how they would raise the cattle here, like breed them here, and then send them to Nebraska to fatten them up at the slaughterhouse. And then they would slaughter them there and then send them back on a truck to go to the supermarket. And I was blown away by this. I was like, well, why don't you fatten them up here, kill them here, and just take them over to the supermarket like a few miles away? And he's like, son, that's not how this works. Like, and I didn't really understand at the time. Now I do. It's all for profit. You know, it's a way to make a bigger profit, and we fatten them up over here, we ship them back, the trucking industry relies on this, blah, blah, blah. But that's being alienated. The farmers are alienated from the fruits of their own labor. They might keep a cow or two and slaughter it and eat it themselves, but the vast majority get shipped off to the slaughterhouse in Nebraska to be marbled up, fattened up. Not on grass, but on corn. Is that good for you? Doesn't matter. Who cares? It makes money. It's capitalism. You just ask yourself, does it make money? If it does, we do it. Socialism is it good for the community? Is it good for society? If it is, we do it. We make enough profit to provide for society, but we don't put profit over society. That's the main difference. There's never been, this is a big thing that I learned along the way, there's never been a communist government. There's communist parties trying to get to communism, but communism is only once you can build a Tesla for a penny. Until you're at that point, you don't have communism. From each according to his ability to each according to his need. This isn't, you know, everyone's poor. It's everyone's so filthy rich that want doesn't exist anymore. Economically, physically, and you can spend your time learn how to fish, or writing poetry, or making music, or, reading philosophy. I would love to read Plato to Freud all the way through. How much time is that going to take? It's kind of a YouTube project. I think I have a lot of YouTube projects like that. I'd like to read the great books of the Western world on camera. I think it would be really solid if you had a debate with somebody, to know that the person you're debating had read all these books like on camera. That would be pretty heavy. I've always wanted to learn Ableton Live, DJ on the weekends. That's two of my dreams. I like to DJ, make people dance. I don't want to be huge. That's not it. I just like the experience of like making people have a good time, And I'd love to play a CCR cover band with my friend Dave, who me and Dave are going to do some podcasts here soon. I thought about that. My wife said, well, when you talk to the camera on your streams, just talk to it like you're talking to your best friend. And I thought, I'll do you one better. I will talk to my best friend, me and Dave. So me and Dave are going to do 1 hour long podcast every week. It's one of my ideas. We'll call it Dave and Tyler in the mornings, and then we'll release it at like 10 p.m. I think that would be funny, ironic, goofy, because we're not morning people. I'm kind of working on it. I like the idea of waking up early and working on these audiobooks, join the 5 a.m. club. But if I got to do it at the expense of sleep, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I work 2 jobs, 60 to 80 hours a week, so my sleep's pretty precious to me. And but I do want to do this channel. I love it. This is what I've wanted to do forever. If you want to support me, you can throw me a couple bucks, but I'm not gonna, I don't want to talk bad about anybody. Jordan Cheriton, I wish him happiness and wealth, but when he went after Nick Brana for a Me Too incident, I lost a lot of respect for Jordan. And listening to Jordan try to build status quo, I swore every 5 minutes he's like, you gotta give me money. Do you not want to support journalism? Do you not support independent? You gotta give me money. And I was like, dude, I will never give you money. Like, I don't know. Just for me, I want money to be a byproduct of what I do. It's not the reason I do it. Money's not the reason I teach either. I love teaching. I flirted with having quite a bit of money in the crypto boom, 2021. Made some mistakes, lost that. But I was still teaching at the time, and I realized that I love teaching. Even if I had $1 million, I would still keep teaching because I just love the job. I don't know many jobs like that where you can just go in a classroom and read Steinbeck or Mark Twain or Ralph Waldo Emerson and get paid for it. It's bliss. It's absolute bliss. But I was telling a friend earlier, I realize why so many people hate teachers, even though I am one. Most of the problem with teachers, I believe, is they've never worked a real job. When I say a real job, I mean like 5 years at McDonald's. Some of them have, and they're usually the coolest ones. And I don't hate on the ones that haven't. I mean, really, I get it. You went to college, you want to be a teacher, and you got a teaching job right out of school. We need teachers. They need to be trained. But a lot of teachers will complain. Man, go work at McDonald's. Like, and then go back to teaching and see which one's worse. Like my friend sent me something about, there's a joke in New York that there's rubber rooms where they need to send all the teachers. I get it, but at the same time, I think teaching's really important. I mean, COVID kind of showed us what a world without school is like. It's not fun. I mean, when you think of your teenage years in America, all your memories revolve around being in school. Mr. Feeney and the joke you made in math class, or, it's not just about education, it's about socialization. And it takes a certain kind of person to spar with 17-year-olds all day long. I love it, but I get why other people don't. I couldn't teach elementary school kids because they don't respond to sarcasm. Like little Johnny will be like running circles around the room and you go like, real cool little Johnny, you trying to impress everybody? And that doesn't work on Johnny. It'll marginally work on a teenager. But yeah, that's a few thoughts on teaching as a profession. Having like one of the worst jobs I ever had, it was very meaningful in a lot of ways, and I'm grateful to have the experience. But I worked in a rehab, and I think they paid me. It was kind of funny because I'd had a bachelor's degree. I'd been to journalism school, still working on that thesis for my journalism master's degree. Max Blumenthal and Jimmy Dore don't have one, so I'm afraid to get one. It might ruin me, but we'll get it eventually. If Ryan Thomas doesn't turn his back on me, or the University of Missouri doesn't see this video and decide not to stand behind me. But I forgot what I was talking about. It's kind of hard to talk to yourself like this, stream of conscious. You just keep going, you know, and you forget what you were talking about. If I was live streaming, I remember what it was. It was about teaching. So like, I worked 5, 6, 7 years in the private sector, worked really low paying jobs as a newspaper reporter, as a server at Red Lobster, Ruby Tuesday, and I was a drug and alcohol counselor. I got paid $9 an hour, maybe a little bit more, and I hung out with heroin addicts, alcoholics, and benzo heads all day long, and filled out crazy amounts of paperwork, and they would get me in trouble for being 3 minutes late to work. They would write me up, even though I was giving them some of the best years of the best of my life. And yeah, but I got no vacation. As a teacher, you get 3 months paid vacation. It's unheard of. I got no vacation. They gave you a week after you'd worked there a year, but then they gave you crap about taking any of it. So it was like you never wanted to take it. As a teacher, you're just like guaranteed. Plus you get every holiday. You get like 2 weeks off for Christmas, 2 weeks off for Thanksgiving. It's heaven on earth. And it made me realize, as a socialist, I think a lot of the reason people hate on teachers or hate on government workers is because those jobs are socialized. I'll show you back here. It's kind of a cool place to see. But I've had a feeling of what it's like to have a socialized job and a job for profit. If you're working a job where you gotta earn a profit and your boss is just squeezing you for every little morsel of productivity, you're gonna resent somebody that gets 3 months off in the summertime and then complains about how hard it is or how little they get paid when you get paid the same and you're working all 3 of those months, baby. So yeah, maybe we need Mao's back to the land movement for teachers, for all professionals. You know, I always say, if MAGA could see Hunter Biden work in a Boss, Missouri sawmill for 5 years and then televise it, let's make it into a TV show where liberal Ivy League professors get to work on the farm in rural Missouri for 5 years so they can know what it's like. I think most Americans, 90% of Americans, would love that TV show. They'd love that TV show. And that's what happened in China. And that's why the liberals demonized the Cultural Revolution. How do you think how do you think CNN would respond to Don Lemon or Rachel Maddow being sent to work in a Boss, Missouri sawmill? I think it'd be good for them, though. I do. I think it'd be very popular. And I think our ruling class knows how popular it would be. And that's why you gotta make Marxism, communism, China, Soviet Union, Cuba, evil words. Venezuela. Venezuela. Yeah, if you go to the liberals, the rich, entitled elites that you can't stand in this country, if you go to them in that country, of course they're gonna hate the people's government. Why? Because it's not for them, it's for the vast majority of people. But if you go in the poor favelas of Venezuela and you talk to them there, well, they're gonna like it. I'm walking by somebody, so I'm gonna be quiet. How are you today?
Okay.
Good.
Stupid way to hike.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, well, maybe that's God speaking through you to me. Wow. See, there you go. But who is that? Do you know what she said to me? She said, that's a stupid way to hike. She said, you're supposed to be hiking for yourself, not for everybody else. That's good advice. But let's say I hike 7 days a week. I record one of them for everybody else, and the other 6 are for myself. Who got hurt there? You know? But this is a good example of anytime you try to put yourself out there, especially in a small town like this, that's what you're gonna get a lot of the time. And you just gotta be cool with that. You know? If I was, that's the funny thing. If I was walking for myself without recording this video, I would just be in my own head, like making up ideas or honestly chastising myself for not recording this hike. So, to each their own. But yeah, kind of rebuke stings a little bit. I don't treat people like that. Anytime I run into somebody like that, it boggles the imagination, you know. She is in town, kind of an older, hateful lady. I don't think she's ever been nice to me. She kind of treats me, I've met her on this trail before, and she treats me the same way, whether I'm videoing it or not. So, but hey, we need haters. Hopefully Vosh will say the same thing. So get on here, Vosh. Tell me not to record my hikes. It's a beautiful moment. I'm actually glad I captured it on camera. And it's an even better reason to do hike number 2. Just to show her, you're not gonna stop me. Like, if I saw somebody on the trail videoing their hike, I would say, that's awesome, man. I've wanted to do that. Good for you. Good for you to have the courage to put yourself out there. Not her. That's probably the difference between introverts and extroverts, though. You know? Oh. This is a good feeling, though. I want to feel this. Because this is the reason you've never seen me make a video, because of stuff like that. Because of what people say, you know? But, I don't know. If you got a gift, I think you should share it with the world. I think you should go down in that cave, slay the dragon. Maybe that was my dragon. And if I get a good response from this video, if you guys want me to make more, then I will. I mean, it's crazy to talk to people like that for what they're making. Like, if I was making no more noise than if I was like talking to a friend in the woods, and I put the phone down and was quiet when I walked by her, and she still had to say something. Still had to say something hateful. So that's what you're up against, man. If you want God to live through you, if you want to shine at all, there'll be many crabs in the bucket trying to put you back down and shove you in there. But that's like the short I made earlier, you know. You got to choose love. No one responds like that if they're happy with themselves. No one. That's another great Mark Twain quote. He said, keep away from people who belittle your ambitions. Like this lady. Keep away from them. The truly great make you feel that you too can become great. Mark Twain. Mark Twain said that. You know, how many people made fun of Mark Twain? Well, Mark Twain made fun of him right back. And whose words do you remember? You know? Ralph Waldo Emerson, self-reliance. Let God shine through you. That's what I'm trying to do here. A little bit of that. So, I don't know. If you like this video, you want to encourage me, keep going, keep recording these walks in the woods. You can show me a little love. But if you don't, I'm still going to keep doing it. Because I'm not going to let people like that stop me. And you shouldn't let them stop you either. You know? I would say YOLO, you only live once, but I told you earlier, I kind of believe our soul's eternal and it chooses the physical form as a way to grow. And I think people like that are an opportunity for my soul to grow. You know? I will take many more hikes just for me. I'm not going to record them all. I've taken thousands of hikes that I didn't record. Like I told you, I've hiked here 1,000 times. Today I decided to record one of them, and that's the comment you get. So you just got to keep on keeping on, baby. That really did destroy my train of thought. I'm just using what's happening in the moment, you know? Be mindful as you make this stream of conscious video. So, yep, school's starting up. I think I got one more week off. I'm gonna get an operation on Tuesday. I won't go into details about it. It's a little potty humor operation, but hopefully everything comes out okay. Should be fine. That's gonna happen, and I got to get to work on my next audiobook. I told everybody that for my audiobook I would do A New Christ by Wallace Wattles, and I will definitely do that one. But I really like the idea of building my fan base by doing a New Thought type book, and then doing like a socialist communist book, going back and forth, because those are the two things that I listen to when I'm out in these woods. I'm always listening to something. Today I decided to make something for other people to listen to on their hike, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not gonna stop, lady. I'm gonna keep going. You are just grist for the mill, sweetheart. Grist for the mill. That's the fun thing about living in a small town, is I can see that lady on video and then just ask my mom what her name is, and I'll immediately know. I'll know everything about her. You can ask other people and they'll be like, oh yeah, she's always like that. God bless you, honey. Just keep going. She brings down everybody. So that's how it works. Not gonna bring me down. I ain't gonna quit. I'm gonna keep at it. I'm starting to kind of enjoy the process of YouTube. Like, even if you hate my video, if you hate my short or whatever, you still left like 50, 100 comments on it with 0 likes. That's cool. It just bumps me in the algorithm. It really kind of like lets you see that if you really hate somebody, the best thing you can do is ignore them. You know, if you engage with my material, it just helps me. All press is good press. But the first New Thought book, I'm going to scan the complete writings of Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm going to read all those. I plan to do this my whole life until I'm dead. I will make audiobooks online, scan the book, read the book, Now, here's something I don't understand, and with my politics, I'm, make peace with pissing off the state. Copyright law. How does that work? It seems like in America, if a book is more than 100 years old, it is in the public domain. Oh, there's a squirrel. Let's see if I can get him on video for you. There he is. Squirrel! Yeah, if a video is more than 100 years old, it's in the public domain. And I'm pretty sure you can do whatever you want with it. There's a ton of books on YouTube that were like written 5 years ago, and the audiobooks on there completely. I guess it's kind of like if the copyright holder wants to pull a Metallica Napster legal moment, they can, but they don't have to. So I don't think you should let it get in the way of making content, even if they demonetize it. I know they take a lot of them down. I've noticed a lot of audiobooks of like Steal Like an Artist or Show Your Work, which is a big reason I'm making this. Props to Austin Kleon. His audiobooks are so popular, everyone wants them on YouTube, but I think he's got a good legal team, so they disappear. Like when they hit like 1,000 views, they disappear, and then someone else will re-upload it. So, but I think, so here's the one I want to do, which even if someone takes this idea and does it, it's fine, because I'm going to do it and do it in my own way. I think it's The Law of Success in 16 Lessons by Napoleon Hill. It's his first book. Brian Scott, I think he was talking to Joseph Rodriguez, and they were talking about how that's really Napoleon Hill's masterwork. Like, Think and Grow Rich is his condensed version of it. But even if somebody else does do the audiobook first, it's really long, so you can do it. I don't know if they'll scan the PDF and do it. And technically it came out in 1927, so the copyright may last for 5 more years. I don't know how it works. If you try to there's no website where you can just type in a book, or I couldn't find one. You can just type in a book name and then see if it's in copyright or not, because the copyright law is really weird. I think in 1960s they redid the law, and if the author reapplied, then they got the copyright for another 50 years or something. But if they didn't, then it went into the public domain. So there's a lot of caveats on it, and I don't know, it's kind of strange, but take a gamble, see what happens. Napoleon Hill's heirs are still doing a lot of stuff, it seems. They contracted Mitch Horowitz to write the Definite Chief Aim book, so somebody's still controlling that material. But I feel copyright is another good example of how the state, they'll make a law and they'll say the law is this way, and then once that property gets so big, the hypocrisy of liberalism, a bourgeois dictatorship, you'll get to see it. So we'll see. My guess is when Mickey Mouse goes out of copyright, Disney is going to figure out a way to renew Mickey Mouse's copyright. They're not going to have Mickey Mouse t-shirts with looking itchy and scratchy, if you know what I mean. They're not going to let that go in the public domain. But we'll see. I could be wrong. It's always good to admit you could be wrong. It's always good. I think that's part of remaining humble, I like these pine trees. Maybe I'll do it like this. Show off my fat chin here for a second. It's always good to admit you might be wrong. Remain humble. But, as Napoleon Hill said in his 10-hour lecture that was on the Master Key Society series, you don't want to be so humble that you don't share your gift with the world. That's really important. Don't be that humble. And I'm trying to straddle that line, the dialectic, and I don't think you're going to be perfect at it, you know. That's why I like Russell Brand so much, and I think other people like him too. Like, if any of you are familiar with the Myers-Briggs, a lot of the creators I like are ENTPs, like Haz of Infrared. I know he's an ENTP. He's like textbook, and it's his way or the highway. It's his way or you're an idiot, and we love that about you, Haz. You're my buddy, you're my friend. Russell Brand is an ENFP, like me. You know, this lady, how would Haz have responded to that lady? What would he have said to her? I mean, I heard him the other day talking about how he responded to someone in the gym. I can't remember, that had his shirt off. I would go back and try to give her a hug, honestly. It's the Russell Brand, the ENFP way. Some other famous ENFPs are Mark Twain, Oscar Wilde, Ralph Nader, Julian Assange, Robin Williams, George Carlin. Bill Hicks was an ENTP, according to the celebrity types. ENTPs will often come off like ENFPs. Like Bill Hicks said at the end in his sweet moment, he'd say, because at the end of the day, it's just a choice between fear and love. Fear wants you to buy guns, put bigger locks on your doors. Love wants you to realize that we are all one. And he says that's a problem for the arms industry. How are they gonna keep building weapons? How are we still gonna wage war against Russia and China so that Halliburton and Raytheon and Northrop Grumman can profit while poor boys and girls die, children? Valley of the Angels, Google it. How are we gonna do that when we realize we're all one? And we should all love each other and not poo-poo on each other when we try to share our gifts with the world, you know? So, George Carlin appears cynical, but in his deep heart, he loves people. I think that's a quote from him. I love individuals and I hate groups, or I hate people. I hate you. I can't remember what he said. He's sweeter than he let on, let's just say that. A little too atheist there for me at the end. I'm more of a believer than George, but the creator's shown through George, and he's a great example of what can happen when you choose courage, for sure. You end up like George, a holy vessel for God, for the truth. I think an atheist who speaks the truth as they understand it, as Emerson said, speak today's truth in harsh words and speak tomorrow's truth in harsh words, though it contradict everything you said today. An atheist that lives that way as a creator is more like God than a fundamentalist Christian that never says a word about their beliefs. There is something to living as you should, quietly. The Buddhist monks prove that. Oh man, I love this bridge. Check it out. It's beautiful. I'll let you walk across it with me like this. There's definitely something to be said for living your beliefs. But if you have the gift of the word, in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, you better use the word. Take it from an English teacher. What is the point of writing, reading, or speaking if you don't try to make the world a better place, as Karl Marx said? Up until this point, the philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point, however, is to change it. That is the point, and it requires courage. And courage is what's lacking in America. I'm trying to do my small part to add to it. It's ironic that she told me that hikes should be for me and not for you. I mean, I'm glad Alex shares Greece with me. What if Alex just walked around Greece by himself and didn't record anything? That wouldn't be very cool. I would not know who Alex was, and I would not want to go visit Greece, Maybe this will encourage people to go hike more for themselves and occasionally make a video about it. It did make me think, I think at a certain point, I can live stream mobile when I get enough subscribers. I don't know if I want to do that just because you don't know. You know, I'm not really afraid of anything crazy happening. That'd be better to have on live stream than not have on live stream, but I don't think I could do it in 4K. Like, I can upload this at 4K, which would be pretty cool. You can see why I love the woods so much here. And I don't know. I don't know quite how to do the streaming thing, you know. It's pretty easy for me to just turn on my Switch and just let my internal monologue out. I'm sure for certain people that's probably harder, but for streamers, not so hard. I don't know if I'm a streamer. Am I a streamer? I don't know. Whatever. I love Haz. I love Jackson Hinkle. Jackson's such an inspiration to me that Jackson is doing what he's doing at such a young age, because I should have been doing that at that age, Jackson, but I was too scared, man. I was scared about what people said, and I think Jackson is just a strong spirit. He came out of the womb knowing just what he needed to do. It sounds like he had a great mother, too. Raised with 3 sisters. I didn't have any sisters. Maybe being a man and having sisters toughens you up. Maybe that's what it is. We're almost done with this walk. Usually takes about an hour and 45 minutes. That's what it took. I haven't messed up and hit the button yet, so I'm proud of that. So we're doing okay. I was gonna say one last thing about teaching. Teaching is a career where you have massive imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to teach a child? And even after I won that award last year, you're still constantly, like, if someone calls you out, like that lady called me out on teaching, like, you're a failure as a teacher, you don't. It's really easy as a teacher to be like, oh man, I guess. But it's, in my estimation, teachers should just be someone that's in love with learning, constantly learning, and someone that's courageous enough to fight for a better world. And if you were those two things, it's good for the kids to be in the classroom with you, because they're going to learn just by being around you. And you pick great works of literature. I like to go through the great books of the Western world because make up for that classical education. I mean, a teacher that's just good at getting a kid like a state test score, the school's gonna like that because they get more money, but that's not education. You can make that score and then forget everything you learned. You know? You can make a 36 on the ACT, but if you don't have the courage to fight for a better world, what's the point? What's the point? It's the height of liberalism that you are just a number on a piece of paper. You are an infinite spirit, endowed by God to do incredible things. You know? Nature does incredible things. It doesn't have anxiety about doing it. Shouldn't have anxiety about teaching, sharing yourself. I mean, if you don't like this video, you don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it, lady. You didn't have to say that. It's all good. I'm rebuking it, letting it out. I chose courage today. That's what's important. I chose courage. And encourage other people that choose courage. Like I said, that's the problem. We need more people that choose courage. So, whew, that was my first walk in the woods with Tyler. Speaking in the third person. That's that dialectic of narcissism versus humility. I hate to see people do that. So somebody just kicked it. Probably a teenager. I hang out with those people. I know how they are. These are little sticks I set here. I used to do push-ups, 10 push-ups on every bridge. I've done that many a time. Not today. Not today. So, I'm gonna go home and start uploading this. I'm putting up the 30K version of the book, just kind of as an experiment. I think I'm gonna move the 24, 30, 60 frame FPS. They're all 4K, but I'm gonna move that down in the comments, and then I'm just gonna let them set on YouTube for a year as an experiment and just kind of see as a natural test, like which one of these do people prefer, and then I'll make the other two private after like a year and just leave the one, change it to just normal. So that's my idea. Man, it's so nice coming out of that trail and seeing this again. Ah, I love it out here. That bridge looks so beautiful. I was out here the other night and it was raining like crazy and thundering, and I just sat in the car and it was a wonderful experience. Maybe I'll share some, I think I might have taken some video of that. I know I took some pictures, so I might share that with you. Hopefully the wind didn't blow in the camera too much. And I was gonna just sit on that bench and show you, but there's a guy there fishing. So he might not want to be on camera, so we won't put him on today. I don't want people to be on camera if they don't want to be. You know, I get it. You want to hike for yourself, I want to hike with you guys. Everybody can do their own thing. Just, that's how it works. So, all right. Almost back to the car. Get back here. I want you to get the full experience of what it's like. I didn't wear my sunglasses today. Maybe next time I will. Maybe next time I'll try 60 frames, see what that looks like. Looks a little too for me, but you know, to each their own. So, let's see if I can open this car without shutting off the video. Hey, there we go. Oh, the car's coming. All right. So that's it, friends. Walk with Tyler #1 complete, and I'll see you next time. If you like that, feel free. I'll solicitate myself a little bit. Help me out. You can become a member on Buy Me a Coffee. Nobody's a member yet. I've never received a single donation. I might put a Patreon up. I made one, but I don't really like the way Patreon works. Buy Me a Coffee is so slick. And Locals was way over my head. I have no idea. I had to make like a Stripe account. I have no idea how that works. So props to you, Jackson, for figuring that one out. If anybody wants to help me with that, sure. But Buy Me a Coffee, slick, easy. If you want to give me a little encouragement, make me feel better after this lady rebuked me for what I'm doing, you can give me $5. You don't have to. Okay. Like I said, I hate people talking about money, and I'm not going to do that on all these, but it's just kind of like, you know, it doesn't hurt to ask. So anyway, I love you guys. I love you, my comrades. I love every American, including you, Nancy Pelosi. I pray for your soul, and I hope you come back to Jesus. Come back to God. All right? See y'all next time.